and welcome to another edition of Bad Movie ASMR. Today we're going to be covering the Lifetime movie Killer Single Dad. I found this one on YouTube via Lifetime or Lifetime Movie Network, one of the two, so you can actually watch it for free if you want. Let's dive into it. So we open on a woman who's putting her baby to bed, and she's going to sleep, and this burglar sneaks into her house and sets off the fire alarm. The woman wakes up and says, "Oh God, not again." So this must be like a regular occurrence for her. So she goes and disables the fire alarm, and as she's doing this, the burglar picks up the baby and says, "It's okay, Daddy's here," and then steals the baby. He's flying down the freeway all of a sudden and puts on "Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round." Cue the title card, Killer Single Dad. So then we switch to a young and handsome father who's doing the dishes, and it's a bright sunny day. He's watching his babies on the monitor, and he has two other children playing soccer outside. The doorbell rings, and suddenly the green grass and the bright sun and all that turns into dead grass, and the kids are gone. I think this is to allude to the fact that he once had a life with children, and it was happy, and now it's dark, and there's no more kids around. At the door, he meets an older woman named Olivia, and she's there for a house babysitting job. She comes in and compliments his ugly kitchen decor and explains that his dead wife is the one responsible for it. We find out he does have a baby named Laura, and I think this is the guy who stole the baby at the beginning. It's hard to tell at this point. After giving Olivia a tour, the father kind of eerily explains his office is off limits. He's like, "Don't go in there." In the office, we see the father shredding documents as well as a map of the United States with a tack on someone named Jennifer Monroe's house, as well as other women that are labeled on it with tacks, like thumbtacks. Cue the father, I still don't know his name, pulling up to her house at night. Inside, there's a couple arguing. The presumed husband is like, "I didn't mean to kiss her at the party, I was drunk." And the wife is like, "GTFO." Meanwhile, the stalker father breaks in after this woman goes to bed, or so we thought. In the dark, the woman walks down the stairs like she has a cramp and then falls over, and we discover that she's pregnant. And so something's obviously wrong with the baby. The stalker father calls 911 to report it, but won't give his name, and then he bails before the cops arrive. Cut to Jennifer Monroe, the woman that we just saw at the hospital. She's now at the hospital, and she's in bed next to her friend Karen, who I thought was her sister at first, but I think it's like just her BFF. The unborn baby is safe. The stalker father is sitting in the waiting room and sees Jennifer's husband, Matt, arrive, and Karen and Jennifer basically tell Matt to get lost because he kissed another woman at a party. Back at Jennifer's house, she talks to Karen, concerned that her door was unlocked and she doesn't understand who called 911. So she had had the cramp, fell down the stairs, wound up at the hospital, didn't know how she got there. But Karen seems to have all the explanations for what really can't be explained. She's like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Maybe you're just lucky. Back to the killer single dad. He's got floor plans and photos that he's looking at in his office by himself. That is until the room brightens up as if in the past again. And it's the two kids who were playing soccer earlier inquiring when the new baby is going to arrive. Olivia, the new house sitter, overhears psycho killer dad talking to himself while she's in the hallway. And she's kind of listening through the door, but then they're interrupted by the doorbell ringing, and it's Jennifer Monroe. Somehow she knows people in law enforcement who were able to track killer single dad's cell phone from the 911 call. And she's just like, "I just came over to tell you, thanks for calling 911 and protecting me and my future baby boy, Connor. What a blessing," etc., etc. Killer dad doesn't introduce himself. I can't remember what his name is yet. I think he says it at some point, but they barely say his name in the beginning of the movie. So he makes up a poor excuse that he plans on moving into her neighborhood. And he heard the argument, so he kept an eye on things for safety reasons, according to him. And then he invites her in, and she offers to take him out to lunch as a way of saying thank you. At lunch, we find out Karen is Jennifer's business partner, and they must run this restaurant together because Karen is working there. Killer Dad tells Jennifer that he lost his wife a year ago, as well as his 2 kids in a car accident. Then reveals he has 2 other girls who are still alive, who I assume he stole them. Jennifer asks for their names, and he hesitates before saying Laura and Manny. Like he just made it up almost, but I think that was the names of his dead children. Because they're definitely not still alive. She's like, oh, that's cute. And she's like, I'll do anything to help you out. You're like my guardian angel. So back at Killer Dad's house, Olivia can't find any photos of the baby and her mother together. Olivia inquires about him suddenly wanting to move to a new house in Jennifer's neighborhood. And he's like, I don't pay for your opinion. I pay you to do your job. So he gets angry and is like, our agreement was that we don't ask questions about each other. And he storms back to his office. So he's PO'd at Olivia, the house sitter, and just doesn't want her snooping around, but she's a total snoop. At Jennifer's house, she's hanging with her father, not the killer dad, but her own father. And she opens a delivery and finds a baby monitor from Garrett. So I guess the killer's dad's name is Garrett. That's what it is. Yes, I remember now. So jump back to Garrett, and Olivia is breaking into his office by picking the lock while he's away. She's super suspicious and starts going through all of his things. She finds a life insurance policy for $500,000 under the name David and Nicole Miller. So is Garrett's name actually David? Olivia's like, oh my, where are you hiding all this money? To herself. Then she sees Jennifer labeled on the map and as he's getting back home. So she's like starting to put things together, like something's wrong. So she freaks out, rushes out of the office and tries to pick the lock from the outside to make it locked again so he won't notice. Garrett / David, let's just call him one of those things, or Killer Dad, finds the lockpick jammed in the lock. He starts yelling and threatening her, what did you see? And then he fires her. My dog is being silly. Sit down. So Killer Dad goes to Jennifer's house and meets her father. He reveals that he just signed a lease on another house in her neighborhood nearby. Jen's first inkling that something is weird is that he mentions the nursery isn't finished, having never seen her nursery before. And then Matt shows up, and he's totally mad that Killer Dad filed a report to the cops regarding him and Jennifer's argument. Jen's dad tells Matt to get lost, and he does. So Garrett's infiltrating this family. Later, we see Killer Dad unpacking at his new home. He clearly doesn't have a job, so he must have used the life insurance policy that Olivia found. He sets up his U.S. map, and I forgot to mention, beneath Jennifer's name is another name of someone called Beth Morgan that has been there the whole time on the map. So I assume this is the house he stole the baby from in the beginning of the movie. He goes to Jennifer's and sets up a baby monitor in the nursery so he can record her, then asks if she can babysit while he goes and picks up Laura's sister. Laura is the name of his baby, supposedly. We see him on the freeway, and the edit alludes to the fact that he's headed to Beth Morgan's house. So I guess that wasn't the beginning scene thievery. That's right. Manny is the supposed sister of the baby. So we see him sitting outside Beth's house, and she's with her baby, and the one he's probably going to steal from to make it seem like he actually does have 2 kids in Jennifer's eyes. This must be him trying to replace the kids who supposedly died that he keeps seeing in flashbacks. So his kids are dead, and he's going around stealing kids to replace them. Psycho. Blah, blah, blah. Matt gets into another fight with Jennifer because he thinks she's sleeping with Killer Dad. He apologizes again for the kiss with another woman at the party, and she sticks up for Killer Dad. After that, Matt commits a felony and breaks into Killer Dad's mailbox like, okay, Garrett, let's see who you really are. Later that night, Killer Dad breaks into Beth's house in his burglar outfit that we saw in the beginning of the movie. He steps on a squeaky toy and hides under the crib as Beth goes to comfort her baby. Then things get intense when she starts reaching around under the crib, looking for her baby's teddy bear, and he's hiding underneath the crib. After she goes back to sleep, he walks into her room and she's half asleep, like, Joe, is that you? Can you put the baby back to bed? And he attempts to steal her, the baby. She wakes up and stops him and realizes it's not her husband. She's like, wait, stop. Her father will be home any minute. And Killer Dad's like, sorry, but I am her father, and you've already seen my face. And then she screams. Cut to Killer Dad in the car listening to news about how an arsonist may have set fire to a San Diego mother's home. So I guess he just burned her alive inside the house without us seeing it. And then he puts Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round on the radio. He brings the stolen baby back to Jen's and takes photos of them together like a creep. The camera zooms in on Jen's pregnant belly with scary music as if he may plan to steal that baby as well. So cut to Killer Dad and Jen heading to Sun's. I'm like sweating right now. This light is hot. Sorry. I also just got out of the shower. So, excuse me. Cut to Killer Dad and Jen heading to some sort of class, and Matt shows up like, WTF. There is no record of Garrett Penderson and his family, so why is that? And Killer Dad's like, I asked the authorities to keep our names out of the press to protect my kids. And at class, we see it's like a Lamaze class or something. Later, Killer Dad suggests that he meets with Matt alone for a couple beers, and Jennifer reluctantly agrees to let him do this. Matt meets Killer Dad for a beer at Matt's house, and Killer Dad is like, I just want what's best for you and Jen. And he's like, I don't like you hanging out with my wife all the time, but thank you for having me. Oh, wait, they're over at Killer Dad's house, not Matt's house. That's right. So anyway, they're having a beer, and Matt says, thanks for having me, to which the Killer Dad replies, yeah, you should be thankful that I saved the life of your son, but wait, he's not actually your son, is he? Bombs dropped. I know that you can't give Jen what she really wants. Matt is like, I'm out of here, you're psycho. And then Dad breaks a beer bottle over his own head and starts crying woof for help as if Matt was the one who did it. It's totally crazy. And then Killer Dad just starts banging his head into a mirror and is like, help, I've been attacked. So he's doing all this to himself and making it look like Matt did it. As a result, Matt gets thrown in jail. Jen shows up, like, I can't believe it. Matt tells her what actually happened, and she has trouble believing him, of course, because he's already been lying to her about kissing another woman. Back at home, Killer Dad is Googling 10 ways to help induce labor and comes across something called raspberry leaf. Meanwhile, Jen and Karen are discussing what happened, and Karen's like, Matt showed up at the restaurant to talk. I know jealous when I see it. Karen takes Killer Dad's side. Then they have dinner with Killer Dad, who cooked for everyone. He insists raspberry leaf is good for everyone, and it's part of their meal. So he's definitely trying to induce early labor with this herbal remedy. Dad asks for the due date. Killer Dad asks for the due date, and Jen says the 20th, unless her baby wants to pop out earlier. Later, Killer Dad has another flashback of his dead son. Then Olivia shows up at his door, clearly angry that he had fired her. She explains that she knows something is up with him. She did some digging and discovered that baby Laura has been stolen via newspaper clippings, and that his real name is David Miller. And then she threatens to blackmail him under the guise of protection. So she's like, it'll be our little secret if you pay me off for 25 grand. Dad goes to strangle her to death, and she pulls out a gun, drops it, and then he kills her. So he throws her in the trunk and the two babies in the back of, and as well as the two babies in the back of the car. He takes her dead body out to a field and buries her while the babies sit in the back of the car. So Olivia's out of the picture. The next day, Jen serves Matt with a restraining order. He calls her and is like, look, I get things are hard between us, but why'd you tell Garrett about the clinic? I assume this has something to do with Matt being infertile. And Jennifer's like, I never said anything about that. Then they're both like, well, how did he know then? And then Jen starts remembering all the red flags beforehand, like him knowing about the nursery having never seen it, him calling 911 even though he wasn't really there, that sort of thing. So Jennifer dumps her milk down the sink and asks Killer Dad to go grab some groceries while she watches his babies, the stolen babies. He agrees. So she sneaks over to his house while he's away getting milk and breaks in. However, Killer Dad sees on camera via his cell phone that she's sneaking through his office while he's away. On his computer, she finds search history containing news about stolen babies and potentially related murders, among other things. So Dad hightails it home to catch her in the act of going through his things. He goes to Jen's house first and knocks her father out with a crowbar. Meanwhile, Jennifer calls Matt and is like, I think Garrett is our sperm donor. He broke into the clinic, stole our information, as well as 2 little girls. And Matt's like, I'm on the way. So Jen goes home and Garrett calls. She tries to outsmart Killer Dad and discovers that he's inside the house, her house. The stress starts to get to her and she's in pain from what I guess are contractions. Could be the raspberry leaf, who knows? And Killer Dad is like, I just have to restore my dead family to be whole again, and knocks her out with his fist. He ties her up and throws her in the trunk while singing little songs to the babies. Matt shows up and finds Jennifer's father on the floor hurt from the crowbar beating. Cut to Killer Dad having Jen tied up in a bed, I think at his house, as she's about ready to give birth. He's just like, breathe like we're in Lamaze class, as she's got a giant bleeding gash on her forehead. Somehow Killer Dad already has all the gynecological tools needed to take the baby away. She gives birth. He cuts the umbilical cord and is like, I like the name Connor, by the way. Let's keep it. He tells Jen she's destined to bleed out and die, so he's not concerned with what happens to her at all. He starts cleaning the blood off of what is a very fake Cabbage Patch looking baby while Jen cries and Matt starts heading his way over. This is the climax of the movie. As Killer Dad starts loading up the car, Matt sneaks up on him and tries to beat him with a giant piece of wood. But Killer Dad gets the upper hand and knocks Matt out. However, Jennifer gets loose from her restraints while this happens and picks up a butcher knife from Killer Dad's leftover arsenal of tools. Killer Dad walks in and sees her holding her baby. And she's like, he's not yours and never will be. And then she stabs Killer Dad in the chest. Boom. Flashback to Killer Dad's dead children asking him to go play with them. I guess they're all supposed to be in heaven together now or something. Matt finally wakes up and meets up with Jen, who has started holding her baby. And we fast forward to the future. Jen and Matt are back together again with their baby in the backyard, happy as can be. All's well that ends well, right? Very abrupt ending. We never really find out what happened to the stolen babies and the murder victims, and then we cue the final credits. So that's Killer Single Dad for you. The guy loses his children, goes around stealing babies for himself, and winds up getting stabbed by one of the women he tried to steal the baby from. So I can't say it was a good movie, but it was definitely entertaining for Lifetime standards. If you liked this, you can check it out on YouTube. And if you have any recommendations for other movies you'd like me to do, go ahead and leave a comment below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with more soon. Thanks so much.